Hello everybody and welcome back to another tutorial episode. I am Talia and I'm going to be helping you figure out how to draw noses today. So first off, I have made these three little charts over here that are kind of guidelines to help us understand how a nose fits together and the different angles and facets and stuff like that. But before we go through each of these, I actually wanted to bring up a reference picture, the same one we've been looking at, of my selfie over here, just to give a basic understanding of how noses work, how they sit on the face, that kind of thing. So, first off, let me get another layer here and a different color so we can see it. Okay, so the nose, as we've gone through before, sits if we have like the circle of the face here and this is where the eyes is, it's right at the bottom of the circle is where the nose sits when we're building our facial structure. From there, a nose is attached to the brow bone at the top here, like this, and then comes all the way down just above the lips. And the tricky part about noses is that there's actually several different sides. So right here, this is all the front facing edge. And then there are side pieces that come off here, and you can't hardly see it on this side, right here like this, that angle this way and this way. And then there is the underneath piece, which you can't see very well on this particular picture, that is right underneath there. So I know that looks goofy, but I'm just trying to give you an understanding of the fact that there are three different angles to the nose. So though the nose in itself is one entity, there's actually different facing sides that all fit together, and it's important to understand that they face different directions, and if you don't get that quite right, it's going to make the nose look really flat and like it doesn't stick out from the face. And because it's the thing that protrudes the most out of the front of our faces, it's really important to get those angles and understand that they are going to be the thing that force the nose out from the picture. So having that basic understanding, let me actually get rid of all of these colors so it doesn't look so goofy when we look over here. All right, these different charts. This first one over here on the top is a more complex one, and it is helpful, I think, for starting out. If you're not exactly sure how all of those different angles fit together, it's a really good one for getting that nailed down. So, I drew two different versions. So this is the basic chart here on this side. Then, to add the actual nose pieces to it, this is going to be here. This is the top side, is going to go on either side of this middle line here. And then we have our edges coming down, and that's going to be the nostrils on either side. And then we have this bottom section, which is going to be like this bottom section over here. So, if you want to use this chart, the basic way to just draw it to begin with is just to do a line straight down, add a circle, and then you'll add these angles coming off, and that's going to be how pointed the tip of the nose is. So if they are more angled like this, the nostrils are going to be higher up. And if it's more like this, then it's like an upward facing nose. So you can kind of do these at whatever angle you want, but make sure that they're fairly even on each side. And again, this is from very front view, so keep that in mind that we're not messing with the angles based on different sides that you're looking at it. And then from there, these come up and meet the top like this. And then you're going to have these come down for the bottom, make another little triangle down there. So it's a pretty easy, simple chart that you can build. Once you figure out how it fits together, it's not too hard to actually make all of the different sections there. Then once you have that chart built, you are going to add, right on the edge of this circle here, you're going to add little kind of like lazy C's on either side, and that's going to be where the top of the nostril is. And they don't have to match perfectly. It's helpful if they're similar. And then you're going to match the same thing. You're going to start here, not actually touching there. You don't want to touch, but just inside, and then come up like this. And that's going to be the very outside of the nostril. And again, right here, make sure you don't touch, because there is an actual lip here. Because if we join them together, then it looks a little bit strange and like it's not fitting quite right. And then from there, you can draw very lightly. This is where the bottom of the nose is going to be. And then the very top edge of the nose is going to follow. There's this little ball at the edge of your nose. You can feel it on your own nose, the cartilage right there at the top. And then you're going to have your top section here. And then for making sure that this section down here looks like it's downward facing, you're going to follow these lines here, the bottom of the circle, and around like that. So this is a fairly detailed nose. This is something that you would probably use if you're doing a more realistic kind of drawing. Something like this to get an understanding of how the nose all fits together. And the other thing about noses is it's a mix of angles and soft curved lines. So you can see here on the nostrils on the outside, I have like a sharp angle, sharp angle, sharp angle, like that on each side. But then here in the middle, the actual nostrils are very curved shapes. And I think that's an important thing to distinct. Try and notice which ones of the lines are really soft and which ones are hard edges. And that will help you get an understanding of how to fit it all together, and it'll make it look more realistic. So there's that version. This next one down here is actually the one that I learned on, and I think is the most helpful for me because it's a little bit more simplified. So this one, as you can see, is pretty simple to put together. You just start with the circle in the middle, and then you're going to add 2 circles on either side like this. And those circles are going to determine, like we did up here with these lines coming out like this, the circles where you put them, what height you put them, is going to determine how high and how large the nostrils are. So if we put them all the way up here, then you're going to end up with like a very tall and like hooked nose, like that. Whereas if you put them down here, it's going to be more of a flatter, wider nose. So let's put them in the middle here somewhere for now. And then from there, you're just going to have your front facing facet here, just to give you an idea of where that's going to go up. So on this chart, from here, once you have that down, and when you draw these charts, make sure that you do them super lightly so that you can draw your actual nose over the top. So from here, this chart, what you're basically going to do is you're going to follow the edge of these circles and keep in mind which part of the nose you're following around. So, for example, we're going to just start out by doing this bottom circle here, and then this circle on this side is actually going to represent the entire circle of the nostril coming around. So you're going to cut it off just a little bit and then end it before it goes all the way to the edge. Same thing on this side. And then from up over here, you can bring your nostril down like that and just follow the edge of the circle down and around. Another thing I really like about this particular format of using this guideline is it helps make actually softer lines and more round noses, whereas this one up here, it's very easy to get really sharp angular lines going. This one, as you can see, it's much softer. It's more of like maybe like a little kid's nose or somebody like a wider nose, where it's just there's more cartilage there and it's less formed around the bones. And then another thing you can kind of add if you want to is you can have it here if the nose is a little bit upturned, and then these lines going up. So that's pretty simple. There's that one. This last chart is super simplified, and it's usually used by people who basically know what they're doing and have like the rest of the face down, and they just want to like show, okay, that's where the nose is going to go. That's the direction it's facing, and just give like a simple idea of how that works. This one down here, I wouldn't recommend if you are super new to noses and you're not sure how they work yet. This one is much more loosey-goosey. So you can kind of put the nose where you want it to be and just use it as a basic guideline. Basically, what this is going to do is it will tell you the bottom section here. That's all it's giving you, is that much. And so you can figure out like, okay, here's where the nostrils are. Say it's like this. And then the top of the nose then is going to come down. Say we want this here, and then the sides are going to come around on this side like this. So you can kind of see it gives an idea of where that bottom flatter section is going to be. And if you were to shade this in, for example, this would be like darker down here, like in shadow. And like I said, I usually use this second chart up here because that's the one that I learned on, and I actually like that one the best. But if even any of these speak to you and you like them, then go for it. Just to give you an idea of how they look on a person, let's go over here and trace each one of them on this picture. So if we're to do this top chart here, first we want to find the circle of the cartilage that's on the front. So that's going to be right here like this. Here's our line coming down straight from the middle of the brow down to the tip of the nose. Here's the circle, and then we're going to follow this line here, and then follow up like this. And then, as you can see, because my head is tilted into the side a little bit, this side here is much smaller than this side. And that's how this is going to rotate, because it's kind of like a pyramid with another pyramid stuck on the bottom. So then the bottom section is going to come down like this. And you see how it's very small in there. It's like this section right here, and this tiny little baby section right here. That's the bottom section that mirrors this part here. And then from there you can add all of the other, like the nostrils and the contour lines and everything like that on top. Then for the next chart, basically how it lines up is, so we're going to have our 3 circles. So first have this circle in the middle here, and then our next circle here is going to line up with the edge of the nostril that comes around here. So right there like this. And the other one's going to go on the other side. And same thing here, as you can see, these circles are different sizes and in relation to each other slightly different. So this circle is still the big one in the middle. This one looks pretty standard, but if we were to add another circle over here to mirror on both sides, then the nose would be completely flat and faced the wrong way compared to the face. So you have to pay attention to where that facet is going on this side, because it is smaller on that side than it is on this side. And that's going to directly relate to how big these circles are. So that's another thing. As you work your way down in this chart, you're getting less and less guidelines. So you have to really pay attention to which angle you're at and how those pieces fit together. Because if you're just like, oh, my guideline, 3 circles, cool, and you just stick it on there, then it's not going to line up with the angle of the rest of the face. And then from there, our third and final little guideline is just right here, like this. And that's where the triangle lines up. As you can see, that it gives you very, very little to go off of. But then you can use it to build the rest of the nose out. So that's basic nose stuff. I realize that's a lot, and it's hard to super understand, but it's a important lesson, I think, to understand how the different sides of the nose fit together. And I realize that we look at faces every day, but it's a difference between looking at a face and really looking and seeing how pieces fit together, and like looking at a face like a normal person does in order to talk to another human being and not stare at their nose. So I would encourage you to look at reference pictures, try and notice if you're trying to draw a picture and you're just really not seeing how it's fitting right. Like look up a face that's facing the same angle, try and figure out what kind of nose you want. Like, oh, do I want it to be more pointy? Then I have to make these angles a little bit sharper, that kind of thing. So just keep working at it, and ask me if you have any questions. I'm happy to help. Look up reference pictures, draw on your own selfies if you want to. And yeah, I think that's about it for noses. I am going to move on to lips for the next one, which are super fun and pretty complicated. So look forward to that. If you haven't checked out my other tutorials, be sure to do that. They're up on my channel. And I will talk to you guys next time.